This week, episode 320 of Stogie Geeks, Drew and I talk the predicate exchange, or known as PredX. This is a licensing solution that is being proposed to the industry. Its goal is to help solve some of the predicate questions in a cost-effective way, while still allowing manufacturers to expand their portfolios. Interesting. Stick of the week is the Plasencia Elma Forte. I'm smoking the Robusto. That's a 5 1/4 by 52. And stay tuned. In the second segment, we're going to talk sticks of the week. We're going to review the Plasencia. But we have a giveaway coming up that has to deal with Brick House. All this and more on this edition of the Stogie Geek Show.
This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geek Show. Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Joe and I are already silly.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Hozempa, a.k.a. Joe Hollywood, is here with me in studio.
I'm fired up.
Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo.
Confidence. Confidence isn't walking into a room with your nose in the air, thinking you're better than anyone else. It's walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone in the first place.
Stogie Geeks, welcome to episode 320. I am your host, Joe Hozempa. Super excited to be here. I'm all joined. Oh boy, Bloody Mary has kicking in. I am joined remotely from the little dark-haired boy from Texas, Mr. Drew Galvin. What's up?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Joe.
What's going on?
Oh, man, it's the weekend, brother. I'm always excited when it's weekend.
Yeah, I'm especially excited for this weekend. I'm going to a show tonight. From someone from Little San Antonio, your neck of the woods, is chilling in Rhode Island, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nice, nice.
And I got a babysitter, so I'm looking forward to that.
That's always good.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my son to give me a call. Hey, Dad, I need you to babysit tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, yep. That's awesome. Yeah, it's going good, and things are going good, and we got news. I mean, there's some more. Even though I'm not privileged to talk about it because I've never been to a show, but I'm gonna talk about it. So there's some more PCA news going out there. I said last year that Cigar Con wasn't a good idea. They kind of they're becoming very, very externally centered as an organization, and that is all I have to say about that. And when you become externally centered, I know it's about focusing on your customers and doing all of that. However, mission tends to slip, and who knows what the future of that's going to bring. I'm assuming it's going to be a change of command and a swing of something different there. But, it's above my pay grade. My offer still stands. You need me to sit on the board or whichever. Joe H at StogieGeeks.com. The offer still stands over there.
There you go.
As opposed to getting yelled at on Facebook that, if I really wanted an interview with them, I should call. I don't really. My phone rings constantly. I'm busy. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's going on with you?
Not much, man. Just enjoying the weather over here. Finally, we got over the little cold, a couple of days of real ice cold weather. Looking forward to the XFL league kicking off here in Dallas. That's going to be fun to go to on Sunday and enjoy that. But other than that, man, just been smoking stogies and enjoying, the camaraderie with other, at the lounge and just enjoying the cigar culture life.
Yeah, man. It's about smoking sticks and making money.
That's right, brother.
There you go. And if it's me, it's smoking sticks, kicking ass, and making money.
There you go.
Kicking Ass.
Make a few friends, and those that hate, well, they just hate because they can't participate and whatever.
Just want to make sure that we can understand my northeastern accent. That's kicking ass, not kissing ass. Anyway, Drew.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the predicate exchange. It's dubbed in the industry as PredX. It's a proposed solution that is being offered now to the industry in regards to licensing for predicate date. There, its goal is to help solve problems about the ever so ongoing conversation that I've been having since 2015 on a consistent basis, either with Cigar Club Radio when it was there or Stogie Geeks, about this whole FDA decision. And it's being proposed as a cost-effective way while still allowing manufacturers to expand their portfolios. Now, for you Stogie Geeks who are listening or watching, you can follow along. You can go to PredX, PredX.org, get all the information over there. And I want to roll out their game plan because after talking to the agency for the creator of this, full disclosure, it is McAuliffe Cigars is behind this. Al McAuliffe is behind this. There, and it's got some interesting points, and we're going to take some time out, 20, 25 minutes to kind of lay out the land of what their plan is. There, I'm going to reflect on how I think it would reflect both in and out of the industry, because it's not an original idea. Manufacturers been doing this for a while to increase purchasing power, especially when you're dealing with stuff out of the United States. Sure. So I like the idea, but being in the industry for over 24 or 5 years now, I can see where there might be some hiccups, and so we're gonna take time and talk about that. And then in a part 2 series, kicking the can down the road, we're going to continue a little bit more in depth as they roll out their plan there, because they have a monthly cadence, which we're going to start to talk about there on this episode. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have Al McAuliffe come on Stogie Geeks and talk about that, and we'll get him on another episode as well and talk about the McAuliffe cigars. Which order, I don't know, but hopefully by the end of July of 2020, the Stogie Geeks listener will now be able to go to the Stogie Geeks landing page, stogiegeeks.com/McAuliffe, and they'll be able to kind of get the cadence of how this is being delivered there. Yeah. So I will begin. I will begin. So with the May 2020 deadline coming in, that deadline's quickly approaching. And again, I'm getting this information from predx.org. It was sent to me by the ad agency for McAuliffe Cigars in order for me to begin to open discussions on this on the show. So, I know other people have covered it, so take your hate email to drew@stogiegeeks.com. So anyway, and so PredX is the idea of it is to have a collaboration effort behind the blends that would obviously meet pre-predicate date. And now this would expand beyond. It would be under its own nonprofit there, because the setup is a .org there. So, their anticipated timeline as to have this all launch from December through January, February. They want to share the idea. Again, they've done it with some of the interested parties. They've reached out to some of the cigar manufacturers. They've gotten it in the hands of other podcasts as well. So, this isn't riveting breaking news. It's just, with everything that's going on with quote unquote the big show, it's probably sitting on the back burner. If that was on cruise control, that show, I think that it would get more attention. It just happens in the news cycle, happens all the time, right? So the goal is to get letters of, between December, January, February, is to get letters of intent from manufacturers stating that their desire to explore the direction of the company going into this collaboration effort with Predex. They are seeking both manufacturers interested and participating who want to help out the lead there. They'll also be on, I'm assuming that they'll be on a board of advisors to talk about that. In February, March, their initial calls will go as a group to discuss how they organize the organization and potential licensing approaches. McAuliffe Cigars, as the initial member, will facilitate there. The desired outcome is the election board of members, so they would have either an executive or an advisory board. And the next order of business would be solidifying a single pooling and licensing approaches for member vote. Finally, McAuliffe Cigars will be prepared with demonstration on how predicates may be curated and discovery by its members. Now we're moving forward. Next month, they're going to swing towards the momentum and collaboration of those members who get elected. And it will allow and produce the first view of member predicates that are available. April, here, so they have a timeline. So April, I'm dubbing it April, May, just because of the month that we're in and how sometimes slow the industry can move. Sure. And when you get to May, as we know in the industry, it's all hands on deck on the big show, regardless of its situation, whether they're going or not. You know, it's usually all hands on deck there. But so April, May, the initial Predex organization license model and predicate database will be up and running. It's noted on their site, Predex cannot achieve its full potential for members unless we are committed to organizing quickly and making decisions which deliver a licensing solution to member versus the classic lobbying. Okay, legislate and legislative litigation methods. Licensing produces predictable results for benefiting members, retailers, and consumers. What are your initial thoughts? What are your initial thoughts? I have so many racing through my head at this, but what do you think?
Yeah, I was just, reading here on the Predex website, the Declaration of Collaboration. And again, I mean, it all comes back to working together as an industry and bringing everything very concise, and also, having that, just having that transparency. So, when everybody is together and everything is transparent in the discussion of the Predex, that, for me, it would be, a start in that direction to make sure that, everybody has a voice, has an opinion, and then from there develop, and it just invokes a lot of good conversations.
Okay.
So that.
Yep. The benefits go to retailers, customers, and cigar manufacturers. I will continue. Cigar manufacturers will be, if they join the group, right? You also said something that's provocative to me. Well, people would have a voice. Mm-hmm. Semicolon, if they join the group.
Yes.
Period. Okay. I just didn't want to interrupt you. You know what I mean? I just want to make that clear, right? But the benefits for cigar manufacturers will increase their access to the must-have predicates, okay? Allowing them to increase their product portfolio, sure, right? The benefits to retailers, they would know member companies will have the necessary predicate to comply with regulations. But if they banged on your door, wouldn't you assume that they've gone through their predicate if they try to sell your product if you're a retailer? Mm-hmm. Right? That's kind of, okay. I'll just leave that there for now, right? Customers us consumers, right, customers, will enjoy more choices from a variety of cigar makers.
Right.
What do you think about that?
No, that right there in itself, I mean, that's the end game. I mean, right there is where you have all your customers enjoying, as it says, enjoying a variety of cigars, availability, and just being able to have those coincide with, all the different programs that are out there, such as what McAlpha is doing with the ambassador program, bringing that back in. So that, that in itself, to me, is a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
Can't go wrong. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, there has to be participation, and there has to be open-mindedness about this. I don't think it's that difficult. Once you explain it to me on a previous, between you and I, when we had this discussion off air, because I was also gravitating in my mind, how does this all congeal with everyone?
Right. And also, like, how does it congeal with the big guys? Are they going to be behind it? Are they not? Do they need it? Do they need it? And again, I know I go back to this, okay? And this has been my stance since 2015, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking United States sales. Like some companies, a lot of companies, sell their beautiful cigars, their beautiful premium tobacco outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
And now they're gonna consider joining this collaboration. I'm not saying it's a bad idea at all. I wanna, before I cast my full judgment, I wanna do this series of shows and then have it lead up to Al McAuliffe coming on and setting the record straight of anything that ever happened, or anything that's being discussed on this show. Sure. To set the record straight for sure, and to engage. But I mean, it all sounds great on paper, right? It's like the Constitution of the United States, right? It all sounds great on paper, right? We have these elected officials, and we go through this process, and it's a democratic process, and it really sounds great, and we founded a country on it, right? But as we know, right, and you can pick any subject, doesn't have to be cigars, right? As we know, sometimes on paper, it doesn't happen to work out that way in the real world. You know what I mean? And so
the real world application.
The real world application. And then I honestly think that, let's do a quick pool just mentally in our heads, and we can talk about it, or dare we even mention brands, right? If you're not really a big guy, do you go this route? Or, because if you're a big, or if you're a big guy, do you even consider going this route? Because even with or without predicate dates, or even without a PCA, that, like I said, that's one show, one time. That's not the exclusivity of the deals you can get if you're a retailer going to IPCPR. I don't want to go poo on them anymore than I've been on that rampage lately. But it's like, there are other organizations and other shows that some retailers can't even get invited to because they don't even do the volume as the retailer, right? But yet this group is saying, well, the benefit of a retailer is you would know the companies have the necessary predicate to comply with the regulations. Well, if they're selling the tobacco, then or the effort for the sticks to have shelf spacing, you would assume that they were in compliance, right? I mean,
correct.
I mean, you would assume that, and if they're not, and there's been plenty of stories in this industry of cigar companies who've got jammed up for whatever reason outside of the leaf, outside of wrapper, binder, filler, they've gotten jammed up, and you know something? It goes on them. And I'm not saying it's a dog-eat-dog world, or I'm not saying that it's not gonna work. I don't really. I'd be curious to see what the momentum is on this project. I'd be very curious to see what the momentum is. I'm gonna reach out after this segment, not immediately after, but like over next week, and try to get some updated progress on that timeline for our next segment when we talk about that. But I mean, all they're doing is creating a sense of urgency and listing some benefits, and trying to get people to work together. Now, this methodology is nothing new, and you know, Al McAuliffe outside of the cigar industry has done some pretty super cool stuff, right? If you've looked him up and taken time out to look, so you know, he's got a good business acumen, right? He's got a business acumen, and he's outside of the box, and so other organizations outside of the industry have used this sort of collaborative effort to go in the past. I just don't know. My initial thought is creativity could suffer for the consumer. That's my initial thought. You know what I mean? Because as you stop pooling your resources and then pulling together for a predicate, voting on that, I mean, are we going to see a lot of collaboration of stuff? But we've already seen that. We've already seen collaboration within the industry. A really well-known company who could be known as a big dog pairs up with, dare I say, boutique, creates a stick and does some collaboration, and it works on both sides, right? The big name gets to get into the boutique market for shelf space, and the boutique, whom they might not have even heard, or I should use that word as small batch, right? The small batch cigar company, who the consumer who might not even heard of them, now they can go through the distribution channels because they collaborated that way and then done that there.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do a whole show. Actually, you should put that down in your notes. We should do a show in between this segment. It doesn't have to be next show, but this segment and the second interview of the who's already kind of collaborated. There, because you know, I can see someone wanting to collaborate with like an AJ Fernandez, right?
Sure.
I can see someone like an AJ Fernandez wanting to collaborate with someone like Caldwell.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and there are benefits on both sides, but that's two people, right? You know, I know it's a team and I get it, but you know, it's two people putting together a blend, going forward and marketing that out. Now this is a board, and I've sat on plenty of boards, both executive and advisory, right? You know, to know that sometimes just the makeup demographic of that, you have sacred cows, you have people who kind of want to do their thing, you know, they kind of hush because they don't want to, you know, ruffle the feathers. They want to, and I'm not accusing this as going to be there, but that's human behavior. So there might be some of that later on down the road. There, I'm just a little kind of. My initial thought is protecting the Stogie Geeks listener, and us as consumers. I think creativity is going to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, I would just something just came to my mind right now as you were talking about that, and that's just like. Maybe they should have like a tier level, you know, of engagement. You know, because I'd hate. It was not that I'd hate. I'd see someone like our guest we had last week and a half 2 weeks ago, Placencia. You know, who does some collaboration and does a lot of the tobacco farming work. You know, for
whole brands, you can say it.
Yeah, for whole brands, yeah, for a good percentage, of the cigars that are out there. You know, you get someone like that in that fold, and you know, you start to wonder: is there like a multi-tier level where you can have this, you know, work out? You know, I guess for me, it's like if I put in so much. If it was me, if I put in so much, you know, what do the other parties bring to the table? I'm not sure if that's the right way to look at it, but that's just, you know, in my daily world, I always look and see what you're bringing to the table, so that I can either match it or, you know, help develop that with you, without, you know, I guess being oversized in that position. I guess. I mean, does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. To me, it makes sense with what you're saying. Like, you know, you know, if you have the like, you know, if you're a bigger business, right? Like
Sure.
you're saying, if you're a bigger business and you have a little bit more stake in the game, or if you were able to contribute more to this, right?
Exactly.
Because we don't know what my unknowns, right? Which is why I want to do a 2-part and then get the person in, is because I want to deliver as fair and just opinion as I'm learning about this myself, right? So I don't want to just go on a rampage and say, this is great or this sucks. I'm going through an exploratory phase with you here on air, which would hopefully engage in discussion on social media. You can hashtag Stogie Geeks. You can email me at joeh@stogiegeeks.com or drew@stogiegeeks.com. I'd love to hear from some of the either manufacturers or retailers who are kind of either on the fence or have been all in on this.
Right.
I can certainly say that when a program like this comes to a industry, it doesn't have to be cigar industry, sometimes the smaller ones jump in a little quicker. But if it's a flat fee, whatever the fee is and whatever the licensing process is and whatnot, or time constraint, some companies have a little bit more resources than others. That's so then it becomes I gave this. Well, I can give more because I'm bigger. But if we're giving the same amount, why should someone who has more resources give the same amount? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they'll have to figure that out. But I don't want that discussion to take away from the source. The whole source is to give have members have royalty-free access amongst the members and simplify the discovery of predicates, right? And help them through the innovation process as it gets to regulators.
Okay.
But isn't that on the onus of the company to the cigar industry today, I believe it's today or yesterday, marks the embargo of from Cuba, right? It's what's in February, first week of February, right? So, this industry has changed over years of, and quite frankly, when we have an embargo against Cuba, it obviously affected South Florida. Right, I mean, it affected the industries, but yet there are factories that are still around, like J.C. Newman, that you just you just adapt.
Yeah,
you just adapt. You know what I mean? So it kind of it's interesting. You know what I mean? It kind of reminds me of I did a stint for a little bit of consulting work for the marine industry, right? And boat builders would buy materials in bulk. Now, for those of you who don't know me or don't I live in Bristol, Rhode Island. Back in the 70s, 80s, huge boat manufacturers, either commercial or fleet, not military, but commercial boats and whatnot. And then so all of the manufacturers in that sector would buy the product in boat so that they could produce the materials much cheaper. And they have a J sail, so it's like a sailboat, and it goes down and it has a J. That's the name of the thing. Those are created for 80% of the world boats, for those who race in America's Cups and all of that. And if you Google America's Cup and all of that, and Newport, all that, Newport is 20 minutes from Bristol, so that whole sector in Rhode Island on the bay, huge boat. But the J boats, 80% of those bottoms of the J are produced right in Bristol, right? That's just fact. So they're buying more of that, and then that would increase purchasing power. But so I see the rationale of them joining together, but instead of purchasing power and producing a cheaper product, they're cascading down to the predicate so that potentially the batch cigar wouldn't have to come up with the cost of the predicate. But wouldn't they pass that price down to the consumer? I mean,
right.
Kellogg's cereal today is down 40% because people are not doing breakfast cereals. Right? This is fact, right? So Kellogg's is looking into the meatless revolution. So Tony the Tiger who was known icon for breakfast cereal. I remember being a kid and reading the box and digging for the prize, and all of that stuff, right? So if they're down 40%, they have to adapt and thrive and then go there too. Now they're going to get in the meatless market. Now, what does Kellogg's know about that, right? Are there other brand manufacturers that they know? But that seems to be the hot ticket. And the point of my conversation is the hot ticket, how do I get a predicate date?
Right.
I don't know. That's to be determined. But if any regulation that they come down with, wouldn't the smaller the small batch cigars have to adapt and thrive, and the bigger ones will just have to pony up the money, and some it just might be a hiccup, some it might be easy, some might have already be preparing. You know what I mean? I mean, I've heard the number $250,000 thrown out for that, right? I mean, if they started saving $50,000 in an account from when all this dialogue happened, they'd be able to pay for it cash from a business perspective. Just an idea. You know what I mean? It's like so they have to be. I don't know. Predex is creating a sense of urgency. We'll see how that timeline goes. Right.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that that between the gray areas of this conversation, to get everybody who is going to be involved, again, just be transparent with their with one another and with us. Excuse me. With the consumers.
Yeah.
And what the benefits are. I mean, because at some point they're going to come and ask, like we always do, get with the FDA issues about signatures and about contacting the state level representatives and helping that cause out as well. I think there's a lot more education that needs to be put there and put forward, with this in conjunction, and just involve, all aspects. I mean, you're looking at the manufacturers to get involved. Now you're going to ask the brick and mortars to get involved and the customers. I mean, have it where it's on all levels to help with this idea.
Mm-hmm. I have two final points I want to make, and we can kind of wrap this up and explore, and kind of just let it sit. You know what I mean? Because if I continue talking, I'm going to stuff that I don't know yet, and I really try to do my due diligence here as a Stogie Geeks host to present information to you there. Yeah. But I mean, I like the idea of us working together, and I like the timeline laid out, and I like the idea for some of the smaller batch to work in there. But the method behind, not to take anything away, but the method behind the madness is that it's going to get stuck. These predicates are going to get stuck in legislature. I mean, if you look at Cigar Rights America and you sign up for their email list, their email of who to email with all of these other side laws and legislative and bans and all the pending legislation that's going from state to state, it gets tied up in the process, right? And so the idea is, hey, I have a predicate, we can create this blend, let's move forward, boom. I like the idea. Hats off to McCalla for taking his outside industry knowledge and putting together, or at least the beginning discussions of how to put something like that together for the industry. I think they need it. That's point one. I really think they need it. Point two is, and I guess this is my question to you, and this is my question to Stogie Geeks, and this is my question to the retailers out there who listen to this show, or other podcast hosts who listen to this show. Do we really think that they're going to work together? Because historically speaking,
and
I'll just and I'll just let it go at that. You know what I mean? I'll just historically speaking, I don't know, but I do like the idea, and who knows? This may be a springboard for a great discussion for them to finally consider working together and doing that if we're gonna go this route of having a listed certificate stating, hey, we don't have to go through this process, or this process isn't going to be as much as labor intensive, or it's going to be more cost effective of us as a company to go this route. Maybe we should consider this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't worry about then God, I only had 2 points, right? I have like 5 more, right? Then right, then it becomes like, okay, it's proprietary information to the organization, right? To the organization. What happens if you were a company, and how many companies do we know that were around last year and not around this year, or 5 years ago that are not around?
Sure.
Are they gonna say, "Oh, well, this is my," you know what I mean? Like it's that there has to be a some sort of a strategy for that. I'll tell you, I cannot wait for that interview for Al McAuliffe to jump on and even answer some of those questions. You know what I mean? Because I'm just gonna go it's gonna be like rapid fire from my perspective. If the interview was in the next 3 weeks. And I studied for it, I probably wouldn't have as many questions that I have currently today, right? But I also look at it as, is this going to be a springboard for them to really start to work together? Anyway, I want to take time out to talk to you about the McAuliffe Ambassador Program. If you go to StogieGeeks.com, click on that McAuliffe logo, you can sign up to be an ambassador for your local region. McAuliffe Cigars is bringing back the ambassador program. You get behind the scenes and a view of a boutique cigar company, 25% discount on all swag items, exclusive contests for ambassadors. You get some cigars at events. You get to host an event as an ambassador. You join a private Facebook group, and you get to walk along their journey as well. If you want to become a McAuliffe ambassador or inquire about that, all you got to do is go to StogieGeeks.com, click on the ambassador logo for McAuliffe Cigars, sign up, and away you go. If you have done that already and you are a Stogie Geeks listener, email me at joeh@StogieGeeks.com. I want to know how that is working out for you. Anyway, Drew, any comments, last comments?
I just want to
on Predex.
Yeah, I just want to say if you guys get a chance to go to Predex, the website, check out Dan Thompson. So he's the president of Al McAuliffe Cigars, and he makes a great declaration of collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say speech, but it's an open letter to everyone, and I think that in itself kind of lets you know what the thought process is behind it and why. It kind of breaks it down. In a sense, it's more or less brain thoughts in a wrong direction. It kind of gets you into a nice narrow chute and allows you to understand this a lot more tighter along those lines about the Declaration of Collaboration. So when you get to that page, definitely read that. Other than that, I definitely look forward to meeting with Amanda and Al and Dan and discussing this even further.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely worth a discussion. Definitely because I like the idea. I really like the idea. I just keeping it going. And are we going to get buy-in from the old school?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, you let's just lay it on the table and say this. Interview 1, we'll say it interview 2, and we're probably going to say it on the interview because that's how we are here at Stogie Geeks. We have an outsider coming into a new industry. All eyes tend to be on him anyway, in the blends and all this stuff. I've heard various comments from retailers about either considering them to bring them in, not meetings, etc., etc. They range all over the spectrum, but if we can get old school buy-in on this, like I wonder what would happen if, I don't know, Jose Blanco, Nestor Placencia, some, I'm having a brain fart, a couple of brain farts. Ernesto Perez Carrillo, right? Like I'm not, and again, I'm not casting judgment for and taking anything away from the smaller guys at all. But what would happen if that? And then the new kid on the block is McAuliffe Cigars. Let's face it, right? It's and people are seeking after it is, right? So people are either seeking after them or waiting to see what's happening. Not that the brand is in any danger going anywhere, but some people flock to new stuff. Some people don't flock to new stuff. They do and don't for different reasons. You know what I mean? I think retailers shy away from what really sells. You know what I mean? Yep. They buy 5 boxes, they blow out of it in 2 days, and then, we're not going to get any more of those. You know what I mean? We're going to sell what's on the shelf first. I'm like, really? Because this is like what people want right now, and I understand it'll change in 6 months, but isn't that what's you got to pivot, you got to deflect. You know what I mean?
And just like in all industries, it just takes a guy coming in, who's outside the box, and now he's a player, and he's got a fresh set of eyes, and the thought collaboration between him and his Al. I'm talking about Al and McAuliffe Cigars. Yep. They've pivoted around with positions within the company itself in the last year to really get this. From what I understand from an insider that I know, to come up with this idea and bring it to fruition. So, for me, I think it's going to be a positive step in the right direction, and it'll help other, such as PCA and other TPE and everybody else out there, just kind of look at this as another avenue of information. Mm-hmm. and going forward in the future of the cigar industry.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And his hand will stretch out all across Egypt, and honey will come down. Anyway.
Yeah.
In our next segment, Drew and I are going to talk about the Placencia, El Forte, Robusto, and what we've been smoking. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Plasencia cigars. Perfected for more than 150 years. Yours to enjoy now.
Stogie Geeks, welcome to segment 2 of episode 320 of Stogie Geeks. I'm your host, Joel Josepa, joined by my co-host from Texas, Mr. Drew Gavin. Today, we are going to, stick of the week is the Plasencia Elmer Forte. The specific stick I am smoking is the Robusto. It's a 5 1/4 by 52. A wrapper, binder, and filler are wicked awesome. The taste is wicked flavorful. No. Yes, Drew, have you had the opportunity to even test this remarkable piece of premium tobacco?
Oh yeah. So my favorite. I mean, as always, I mean, you get that chocolate in there, and you get that plum. You get that oak, and then you get the sweetness in the end, which I couldn't describe it for a while, but I finally went to my cheat sheet, and it is a molasses. It's there. And I was putting syrup, and I was like, no, it's not syrup. It's beyond maple.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it just really, really tasty cigar. Enjoyable. Smoke content, as you've been speaking about as of late, really nice, and surrounds the palate, and just it's a great cigar.
With us doing these sticks of the week and us kind of clustering Plasencia, right, as we've been doing on the show, it's not a methodology in my tenure here since 2017. To do them in a cluster. And what I like about doing them in a cluster is that I can reflect back on something I had a couple weeks ago or a couple episodes ago and do a true compare and contrast as opposed to, like, flipping through the story. What did I say? What did I say? And I want to talk about the kind of complexity, flavor, and balance of this before we get into wrapper, binder, filler, and what we would review it.
Sure.
In the beginning sticks that we've done in this series, right? So far, we have done the Cosecha 146, the Elmo del Campo. We've done the 2019 Cigar Aficionado Ranked Cigar Elmo del Fuego. We've done the Plasencia Reserva Original, and now we have the Alma Fuerte. And I've noticed with the first two, the Cosecha and the Elmo del Campo, and we talked about this with Nestor on episode 319 of Stogie Geeks, where there was a thicker smoke content, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, it wasn't there on the Reserva Original, kind of back down a little bit, right? Yeah. As far as like the real thickness and the creaminess of the smoke. Like, I'm trying to elaborate this, right? The complexity of that. That subsides texture-wise with me. It subsides with those two, the Cosecha 146 and the Elmo del Campo. But it reminds me of, like, the smoke content of the Reserva Original. What I like about this one, which is the Elmer Forte, what I like about this one better than the Reserva Original is the complexity of the taste. So I want to elaborate more on that. I wanted to explain that first as best I could. That was the best I could, right? And then I wanted to kind of think about and kind of talk to you a little bit about the taste, right? Because what I notice about Plasencia cigars, and what I've noticed about in doing this in cadence, like we've been doing, is also reflecting how I'm delivering my other sticks of the week too. Because when I make recommendations later on in the segment, it brings up the point I'm about to bring now. Like, when you smoke them slow, right? And if you get the right size, that's for you. But you're able to bullet cut it or cat eye or V cut it. Yeah. You can and you smoke it slow. You really get the nuances, and you hit it right on the head where it's not like maple syrup, but you do get some sort of a plum molasses lingering on your palate. But you also get spice, right?
Yep.
And I'm gonna have to go with a white pepper.
Yeah.
Think so?
Yes. No, I'm
Yeah.
with you on that because that's one of my favorite spices. Anyhow, in my food process is the white pepper.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I eat a lot of Italian food, my wife's Italian, so I always tell her to throw extra white pepper in there, especially when we're making like a frutta de mare dish. Oh man, you're talking about those flavors come through. But on the smoke side of things, it's a more dry, more complex, but you can definitely search it out, with the retro, and then with, like I said, with the smoke content, for sure. Like I said, when that smoke content, people ask me about that recently because we've been talking about that quite a bit, and I said, look, you just take a good draw. I mean, take a decent draw, take a regular draw, and your mouth is just gonna be everything through your teeth, your gums, in your tongue, just in your mouth. It's just gonna be there, and it's just like very cumulus, and
Cumulus.
just let those senses and the flavors really just rain down on your palate and go through your mouth and then send it outward.
Yeah. Cumulus, right? You said that as an adjective, right?
Yes.
I, who happen to work for the second largest radio producer there, when you say cumulus, I'm like, ugh. But anyway, former employer, right? Like, but that cumulus would not be a word I would use, but I could see where you would use cumulus to describe this cigar. You know what I mean? I would probably try to use every other word but that word. But no, I digress, right? Yeah,
I'm with that with the party. When people say, "Oh, it's a party in my mouth," I'm like,
Party in your mouth. Woohoo! Absolutely. Wrapper binder filler obviously is all from Nicaragua. Digging in a little bit deeper into what is going on in there. The primary component is a Criollo 98. And it has a strong blend of tobacco from 4 Nicaraguan regions: Esteli, Condega, Jalapa, and Ometepe. So, I'm Captain Obvious here, right? We've had Nicaraguan cigars, just from Esteli, and then some, Ometepe, the Jalapa Valley, right? And you now in this particular cigar, they're using that across. And I think that's really making the complexity component really come out in the stick for sure.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that.
Would you go as far as saying this is the strongest of what you've had so far?
It is.
I'm kind of there.
Yeah.
I mean, the cosecha really stands out for me.
Yeah.
Right. And after we do this series, we'll get into our favorite and whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I was thinking about the 6 though, and I'm thinking just because of its larger ring gauge, it probably just dialed down just a bit, but definitely the flavors are there. Going back to the Robusto stick, it really comes through, and that's why I smoke a lot of the Robusto size sticks, because just for that purpose, you really get a sense of what the other sticks are going to be like as the ring gauge gets larger, or gets more into a smaller size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of
you
size,
can kind of guess.
What?
You can kind of guess where it's going to go in the complexity. With the larger rings gate. Ring gauge size.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Speaking of sizes, it is available in 4 different sizes. You have the Salomon, 7x58, the Toro, 6 1/4 by 54, the Robusto, which is what we're having now, which is 5 1/4 by 52, and the Hexagano, which Nestor had spoke about that interesting size and creation there. So if you're tuning into episode 320 and you missed 319, I think that is a definite must go back and watch if you want to hear what Nestor Placencia has to say, for sure. And the Hexagano is a 6x60.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pressed. So
it's pressed
it's
and it's six-sided. Six-sided.
Yeah. Yeah, Desi said, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going through, absolutely. So yeah, it's available in those 4 different sizes. Like Drew said, if you smoke it, like Drew and I said, if you smoke it slow, you're gonna get hints of of chocolate, a little bit of taste of molasses, oak, a little bit of earthiness for me. It's getting not too much. Like I can taste. I believe the word you used was dry. It's a little drier.
It was more on the haze side for me. You say earthy, but I think we're there.
Mm-hmm. Hey. Yeah.
Just a scoosh. Skosh. How do you say that? Scoosh? Skosh? What's the word you use?
Scotch.
Scooch. There you go.
There's a scotch. No. Yeah, it does. And the retro hail is very strong. Like if we were talking retro hail by far out of all the ones that we've done in the series so far, retro hail, this is the strongest. Like I even sometimes have to hit the cough button over here and give it like that. You know what I mean? If it needs to, so it's almost there, like where it would kind of be like make you a little itchy if you're, you know what I'm saying? Like you get a sensation of strength when you're doing the retro hail for sure. And that's why I asked you, do you think that this is the strongest one? And I think so far.
Yeah. One of the discussions I've been having lately with other people as well, I mean, just in the line of a lot of other things that we talk about, is, that they go through the phases of red pepper, black pepper, white pepper, green pepper. And I just tell them, I said, you just got to go through and, go to one of the spice stores and kind of get that on your palate, just test it out, and become, it kind of locks in your memory. So when you go smoke it, I mean, it's not going to taste exactly like that, but we're talking about smoke content at this point. But you'll be able to search out that flavor without really overthinking the cigar as you're enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm about to say something that could be different from what I normally say. I am pairing it with drink of choice, Bloody Mary, right? It's
that's got pepper.
And they always make them spicy. It's got little peppuccinos in there, and they get rowdy next door. But
nice.
Real contrast with that. Like for me, it doesn't suck because I like cigars and Bloody Marys. But I would probably, if I were making a recommendation for us, our Stogie Geeks listeners, I would say you'd have to go rum or scotch if that's your thing.
Yeah.
Whiskey, I think maybe. If it was a blended whiskey, you know how they do those kind of 60% this, 60% that, or 60. I can't even do math, right? 60% this, 40% this, or 80. You know how they do like a mixed whiskey? I think that would go good. Straight whiskey, I'm not too sure. Scotch for sure. But Bloody Marys, it's real different. It's like when I have it, it's like I pivot towards the Bloody Mary after I have a sip, and then I go back to the cigar. And it's not pairing bad with the Bloody Mary. I just, if I were making a recommendation, I don't know if it's too complex here to have it kind of be kind of like different from Bloody Mary, as opposed to because some cigars, when I'm pairing them with Bloody Marys and I, talk about sticks or whatever, when I say I would totally put I could almost dip the cigar in the Bloody Mary and just suck on the cigar, not lit. It's oh my God, this is a great pairing. So, thinking about what I would pair it with next, I would probably go something low key, like a sweet rum, not a coconut rum, but a rum because it's sweeter. Scotch if I really wanted to get rowdy. There, like in a real aged Scotch and sip it there, or a blended type whiskey. And there was one other one that I would go with. Maybe you'll mention it, but what would you pair it with?
I would pair it definitely with a single malt Scotch, 12-year, 14-year. with that on the stronger end of it, spectrum of it. I would back that down with, if I was going to drink a blended whiskey, I would definitely do something like a Johnny Walker blend, red or even black, because it'll tend to cool this down just a little bit, because you're smoking a full body cigar. So yeah, to cool it down a little bit, I would definitely go blend. If I'm doing what I normally do, coffees, I'd definitely do this with a chai, like a chai.
Because of the sweetness, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Coffee, the spices there, because it's got cinnamon already, so you're going to complement that with the nutmeg and the other spices that are in your beverage, in my coffee. So, yeah, those are my go-to right off the bat. And if I really want to get really rowdy, then I just go to my double IPAs and I start tapping in there, and I start looking something with a little bit more of a floral, but yet still have that hoppiness to it, just to aggravate it and make my palate really work.
Yeah. If you were going IPA, we got to do an IPA segment too of different craft beers, and I mean ultra craft. I'm not talking you go to your liquor store and get, and I know you can get craft beer at a liquor store, but go to I'm sure you have some breweries down in Texas.
Man.
Yeah, well, I mean we have tons as well, but it'd be cool for the Stogie Geeks listener as well, because the different regions, right? Totally. That's why I truly enjoy our Sticks of the Week segment, because we can get into that there. But yeah, this stick is obviously ranked. It got a 93. The Plasencia El Fuerte. What would you rate it for Stogie Geeks rating?
I'd do a box split with you. It was by myself, I'd definitely get a box, but because they age nice, they don't lose any content whatsoever. So well manufactured cigar. Plasencia has done a great job in with the blends, and so with this cigar you can't go wrong. But I do a box split with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I do a box. I do a box all day. They're awesome. I mean, I'm really glad that we've decided to do this series kind of clustered, as opposed to spread out, because it's I've been on a super huge Plasencia kick there as well, outside of the reviews and just in my general travels around. For you Stogie Geeks who are listening or watching, if you want to find a retailer that carries Plasencia near you, go to StogieGeeks.com, click on the Plasencia logo, type in your zip code, and away you go. If they're not near you, find a shop and call them and give them a card and do it up. You won't be disappointed.
Does Havana next door have those?
No.
Not yet?
Nope. There's one. There's a couple shops in Rhode Island that really carry it. I mean, you go down to South Florida, they're freaking everywhere.
Right,
you know what I mean? And but then again, there's a lot of places in South Florida that are freaking everywhere.
Right.
And consumers. I mean, me on the streets as Joe Hozempa, non-Stogie Geeks, they always get but they're freaking I can't get over the $14 price point, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna pay $10, and that stick, this is gonna last you twice as long. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's $4, and if you can't get over the $14 price point, you should have tuned in to episode 320, segment 1, where we're talking about predicates, because we're going for a ride if that goes through, whether it does or not. So I don't know, if it's something I enjoy, I'll put up the extra scratch. What are you gonna do?
Hey, I paid $95 for my Cohiba Spectra, and I wasn't really too. I mean, it was okay. It was okay.
Okay, I have
Yeah, it was okay.
I can't tell you remind me next week. Tell you about my Cohiba Spectra story. I probably said it to you, but yeah. Okay, anyways, so anyway, go to StogieGeeks.com. Click on the Plasencia logo. Go to type in your zip code. Spend some time on their website. Take a picture of them. No, take a picture of your Plasencia stick. Use the hashtag Stogie Geeks, and we'll be able to keep the conversation going on. I am on Twitter, tweeting around, and Facebook. You can just type in Drew or myself, or go to StogieGeeks.com/320, and you'll have the links to both Drew and our social media. Drew, what else have you been smoking? Let's pivot.
All right, let's pivot. The Perdomo Special Craft Series Maduro, 6x60. It's handcrafted. It's touted to be handcrafted for beer enthusiasts. Origin is Nicaragua. Wrapper Nica. Binder is Cuban seed Nica, and then filler. So Nica, Nicaraguan cigar all the way through. Medium to full body. This cigar here was just something that was given to me. Someone said, "Hey, try this out. We know you like beer." So there I was with my double arrogant bastard beer from Stone Brewery back in my hometown, San Diego. So yeah, I drank that, had this cigar, and it was a very nice burning cigar. Had good smoke to it. Wasn't too heavy, just a light to medium smoke. Complex flavors with it for sure. Dark chocolate, you're going to get dark chocolate. You're going to get some espresso in there. The sweetness comes from the I wasn't sure if it's coming from my beer or the cigar, but there was a little bit of sweetness of spice in there, teetering more on the side of cinnamon, and then from there just really nice creamy rich aroma to it. Other than that, it was a decent cigar. I definitely would buy. I would rate it a 5. If you're a beer drinker, you can pair this with a stout, a porter, a brown ale, a Dunkel or an imperial stout, for that matter. Also in their line, though, they have other cigars. If you go to the website, if you go to Perdomo's website, they have that craft series cigars. I think they got 5 different offerings, and they're paired with light beers, really heavy IPA beers, and stout beers and things of that nature. So, but the one I was given to me, I tried it, and it was, it's pretty decent. So, 5 for sure.
There you go. I had the Falto Mentor. This is the Toro blended in honor of the man who taught Louis Falto everything he knows about tobacco and cigars. That would be Manuel Anoa. Yeah. The cigar is complex. It carries a great balance between full, and it has subtle tones of nuts and coffee. It's available in one size. It's the Toro 5x75 by 54. It's available in boxes of 20. What I like interesting about the business methodology and delivery of Falto is all of his cigars are all one size and different blends. We can get into that. Stogie Geeks, you can go into StogieGeeks.com, type in Louis Falto. I had the privilege and honor to interview him well over a year ago there, and he comes into town for us at least 3 or 4 times a year, and if I can drag him from Domino's, then he would come back on Stogie Geeks. But last time he was in town, he wanted to play Domino's, so I don't know if I should take offense to that, but either way, in regards to the stick, I would absolutely give this stick a box split because of its history and, how each blend is different. You might even go box split with a friend. Your wrapper is Ecuador. Your binder is Sumatra from Brazil and Cameroon. And your filler is Dominican, Brazil with Nicaragua. And again, I would give it a box split.
Nice. I haven't had that, but I've heard a lot about that cigar.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward. If anybody wants to send me that cigar, I'll happily accept it.
I have a boatload of them.
Oh, okay.
All right. Now I'm compiling a list. I know what to stick. I can get you a bunch of Faltos.
Where's my package at?
Just so you know, Drew, all kidding aside, the UPS Samantha, our director of operations, put your mailbox on my desk. So I have the USPS thing there, and she's like, "Don't forget." So it's in production. But no, I'm gonna go next door and grab some for you.
No, it's cool. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to pivot into the Monty.
I was going to say, it'll be there before Christmas, I promise.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Make sure you wrap it in Christmas wrapper then.
Right.
That way I can have something. So the Monte Cristo, number 2, was my next cigar. So have you had plenty of these? Because I have.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, the Monte 2 is what it's called. It's what it's known as. I had a 6x52. It's created in Cuba by Alonso Menendez in 1935 and became a best known of all cigars rolled at Menendez Garcia, the biggest cigar company in pre-Castro Cuba. So I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I had friends pivoting around Florida into Cuba. Anyways, all of a sudden, I got some of these delicious cigars, and I'll tell you, talk about a classic cigar facing for sure. I mean, this is a Cuba wrap, origin is Cuba, wrapper Cuba, binder, filler Cuban. You're definitely going to get a medium body smoke out of this throughout the entire experience. It is not for the, it's, you just got to get into it because it's a classic facing. And then from there, let the experience take you on a journey. So taste notes on this one was consistent leather and wood at the beginning, and then it just transitioned into a little bit of the lighter spice and nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon, just a touch of cinnamon. Other than that, the creaminess I believe was coming like from an almond, maybe a little bit of a sweetness of dried fruit. But it stayed pretty consistent. It's not a real big, it's nothing really time-wise smoker. I mean, I think I went through this stick in, I want to say, just over an hour, like an hour and 3 minutes, hour and 4 minutes, something like that. Mm-hmm. Something crazy. I kept timing it because I have a timer. Because my wife is like, hey, in an hour, I need you to come in and do something. So
you're thinking through the humidor trying to find what's going to last about an hour.
Yeah.
Or an hour and 20 minutes if you were me, right. Stretching it.
Exactly. So, no, but this cigar, as I said, I mean, just very, very consistent. Burn was consistent. I didn't ask if they were from Cuba. I'm just going to assume that somebody brought me some gifts, and they brought them, however they got here. But, man, I've been very fortunate to grab at least 16 of these sticks altogether.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I gave this a rating of a box split.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely split it with someone. And again, thank you, my friends who brought those over for me. I really appreciate them. And of course, I sent you guys some barter sticks because I'm a good receiver and passer of other sticks that I come across. So, very nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good rating. I mean, I'd give it a box split or a box all day long, for sure. If you can get your hands on them, definitely. Okay. I had the Viaje Centauri Zen. What? Right. Wouldn't be a Stogie episode if I didn't use the word Tatuaje or Viaje in a sentence. So there you go. Wrapper is a Nicaraguan Oscuro. Binder and filler are Nicaraguan. The size is a 6 3/4 by 52. It's a double torpedo. They come in boxes of 25. It's available in 3 different sizes. You have the Viaje Centauri Kama, Nirvana, and Zen. I've actually had the Kama as well. Everything you would expect if you can get your hands on this stick. It's an older stick that had come out of an IPCPR show a couple years back, and you can certainly they made 100. They're kind of limited, right?
Yeah.
So, they had 150 boxes of 25, only 3,750 total cigars that were out. That's not a lot, but if you know of a local tobacconist who carries Viaje, I would venture to say, even though they're not on the shelf, ask them if they have some. They might have some in the back for you to do that there, or you can go on a wild goose chase to try to find some. There are a few that are still out there lingering for sure. But yeah, what I like about the Viaje series is it reminds me of like organic beer, where you can almost taste the freshness, and there's a freshness on your palate there. But also, what I like about it is you also get that classic Nicaraguan pepper. And when I was smoking this smoke this week, when I had it, it kind of reminded me of a newer stick that Viaje puts out called the Viaje Antidote. So it had that kind of spiciness to it there as well. It just kind of reminded me of that. So, certainly a fan of the brand for sure. I don't like sending Stogie Geeks on a wild goose chase. So, I would definitely give it a box split because it certainly gets a higher rating. But you might not be able to even go and buy more than 3 or 4 if they're lingering in a shop near you. That would probably be the only chance you would have. Or if you have a friend who is a collector or was a fan of Viavi or still is and and has some for trade, there you go. Something to talk about on your forums. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. What else, Drew?
Yeah, I like the cigar trading deal. I'm on a couple of those forums, and man, I've got some great stuff. I got to go through it and just kind of make sure everything looks good and then enjoy those. But yeah, I love that, and I think that's a great for being a consumer. It's awesome, to kind of have these people all over the world. That I have in my Facebook following, and we just trade information. And then we talk about sticks on the back scene, and then we end up trading. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So the next one I got was a Cadwell, La Barba Purple.
Caldwell.
Have you ever Caldwell?
Caldwell.
Yes.
Yep.
Excuse me, Caldwell. I'm in Texas. Come on, y'all. Caldwell, La Barba Purple. Have you had any of their?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been into Caldwell.
Okay.
There's a local shop, Churchill Smoke Shop and Lounge, who was also my original sponsor for Cigar Club Radio. They have a lot of Caldwell in there for sure. Even their collaboration pieces, and they've always been pretty big into Caldwell. So I've had both. The Labobs, the purple and the original one that had come out as well.
I was in New Orleans a couple weeks, about a week and a half ago. So I was driving through there and I stopped by this brick and mortar shop, and that's where I picked these up. They were on special, so I'm like, I'll take 4 of those. So anyhow, Tabacaleria William Ventura out of the Dominican Republic, the wrapper Ecuadorian Habano, binder Dominican Corojo, and then filler Dominican and a Corojo blend there. The blender is Tony Boleto. He's a sommelier, certified sommelier with the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. The Vitola, they offer it in 4 different Vitolas, 46 by 6 and 3/4, and then the Robusto 5x50, 50 by 5x50, and then a 40 by 7x40, and then a 60 by 6. So 6x60. Taste notes on this. Again, from what I understand, this tobaccos are aged in barrels. So they definitely sucked in or got fermented from the wood, seeping their flavors into the tobacco. Very sweet, a lot of cherry. You definitely get a lot of spice in there, a mixture of spice. I really wouldn't call it baking spice. I know some people go, well, what kind of spice is baking spice? And I'm like, look it up. If you have to ask me, then look it up, please. But anyhow, fragrant, floral towards the end, and just a a very you get some of that tardiness in there, which I think is more of the earth, kind of balancing that spice, that sweetness. Excuse me. But otherwise, just it burned pretty inconsistent. I'm not sure how long they had them there, but as I said, I think I paid I want to say like $6 a stick.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was burned at even. The second one was a lot better. The third one was back to the first one, and then finally the other one I just kind of went through it pretty quick and thought, okay, well this journey's over. But I give it a try one on the Stogie Geeks rating. It's just like with some of the nub cigars and some of the those what do you call those Java cigars?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just too sweet for me. But like I said, I spent a total of $12 on 4 cigars. I mean, that's a deal anytime. And it was an experience. So, but again, I'm not sure if that's a fair assessment of that cigar because I don't know how well they've been kept there. They were out in the open by the register, and it said special.
Sure.
So
sure. Yeah, they were probably just what I've noticed with I'd even go as far as saying like they're like ultra boutique as well. I know Corporate Caldwell is heavily into the art scene as well. They have a whole underground art gig there too. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with your rating on that particular cigar, but they certainly have some better offerings out there for sure. And having that stick in a bargain bin really does it no justice for sure. It doesn't do the brand justice, but if they wanted to blow them out, they blow them out. That's how they want to run their business. That's fine. But I just think that if you I'll try to put Caldwell on the list with Faltos as well and see if I could kind of skew your rating system for them a little bit up. But yeah, I'm like I said, I've had it. I'd probably maybe give it a 5 at tops for sure. Maybe a try one there. I haven't had one in a while. And again, they're what I call, this is my word that I like, they're like really ultra boutique, I think. And so if they're out of sight, they get out of mind, and away it goes. So you always got to have your boots on the ground, as we know, especially when it comes to the retail there. So when I was looking at the second one, I looked at it more closely, and you can tell that this thing had been moved around for some time. Sure. It was probably the first box they got. And you could the box look a little bit, like it had a bunch of scratches on the side from people trying to shove other boxes beside it. You could just tell that they were like that. But yeah, when they put them out there, I'm like, I've come across some bargain cigars, man. They were just really phenomenal. When sometimes I'll get some Romeo and Juliet's, like I just recently got some at a bargain price. I was like, what? I'll take that whole box. Do you have time to do 2 more sticks, or do you want to do one? And if you want to do one, can I pick one?
Yeah. I'll go ahead. I'm going to do one more, and then I got to fly.
Yep, gotcha. I'm going to pick the McAuliffe, Connecticut.
McAuliffe, Connecticut. Okay, so that one there, as you know, it is each tobacco leaf in the McAuliffe, Connecticut cigar has been aged for 4 years. And each cigar has been aged for 1 year before it ships out. Medium body for sure. Wrapper Ecuadorian, Connecticut. Binder Nica Habano, and filler Nicaragua and Dominican filler. Vitolas, they have it in 3 different Vitolas. They got a Robusto, Toro, and a Gordo. Taste notes on this bad boy is, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I haven't had a bad experience with McAuliffe. Matter of fact, my cigar that I'm going out with tonight is my Lajero. I got a Lajero in my humidor, my travel humidor, and a Montafina for tonight's shenanigans my wife and I are going to get into.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I got those 2 sticks in my travel humidor. Notes of cedar. You definitely get the almond, the creaminess of an almond there. You get a very slight spice of nutmeg, coffee, and then you also get that real sweet caramel finish. So this cigar, very, very the way it looks, very transparent. Everything was nice about it. The construction, the bands that are on there, very nice, very decorative. A lot of history there with the Garcia family that these come out of. Cigar burned nicely. Didn't have to relight it once. And I've had about 5 of these so far, and I have not been disappointed, not one bit. Smoke content and on this one is more on the medium side. It's not really too very cumulus.
Nice.
You take a draw of the cigar, and it's not like you get a nice big thick cloud of smoke in there. You just get this real nice light medium smoke in there, and the cedar just comes through nicely and just bounces around. And then when you retrohale, you definitely get that spice of nutmeg coming through. But just a really enjoyable cigar.
Cool. What'd you rate it?
I gave it a 5.
Okay.
And again, it's a medium body cigar. But I smoked it again just 3 nights ago, and I gave it a box split.
Yep.
Because I keep, I have a little book. I have to show you my book, and it just has a bunch of little, check marks and squares and triangles and, kind of things that I have to map myself as I'm smoking these cigars.
There you go. You have to share that process with us. That'd be a good episode too. That'd be a good episode too. How do you rate cigars, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. What do all the symbols mean, Andrew? I say every time I'm in the cigar lounge, you're looking at somebody. I'll leave a book open, go use the restroom or something, and they're like, "What is all this triangles? What is this percent sign? What the hell does that mean?"
That'd be cool to get in, because I'm sure we all have our different methodology of what we try to get. That'd be a good episode to talk about our process there. I have a book as well that I go through some stuff and
nice.
Some were more detailed than others, but it's but that'd be good to go. So we definitely need to further that discussion as well. So it's Friday night and we're getting ready to go, right? Yeah.
You'll be impressed with my my book. I keep them in those little books you used to use in college. What do you call those?
Composition
book. There you go. And so I have a set of them, and they look pretty cool.
There you go.
And it's interesting because you just bounce back and forth with a cigar you've had in the past.
And it's amazing how it's similar to keeping a journal, right? If you write down everything that bothered you or excited you or whatever your journey is, right? However you want to do it. And then you go back 30 days later and read it, and you'll be like, "That bothered me." Like, really? Like, oh my God! Like, friggin', So.
And just to let you guys know, I go through everything. I mean, the beginning of my notes begin with what kind of day I had. Just kind of a little journal.
Yeah.
What kind of day I had. What was the most enjoyable part of my day? What was the most unenjoyable part of my day? And I just kind of go through that, what I had for lunch, because a lot of people, don't realize that sometimes what you eat later when you go have a stogie, it will counterbalance or it'll counteract with whatever flavors are left on your tongue. With the cigar, you just fired up.
Especially if it was a heavy meal or a light meal and all that. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Oh, yeah,
definitely.
Anyways.
Yeah, definitely. No, we should do that more sooner than later. I'll pull up some older journals that I have as well and bring them into the office so that I have them at least on my desk when we want to pivot to that episode. So anyway, Stogie Geeks, just want to remind you, you want to pay close attention to Stogie Geeks during the month of March. We are having a contest surrounding, you can get your hands on some J.C. Newman cigars. Not about to release the details, but that will take place all during March. There, and it's going to include some social media tagging and some other methodology, and we're going to have a little I guess I can or can't say, but I'm going to say it. We're not going to give them away. They're just going to happen to show up in your possession. So there you go. So you want to pay attention to that for sure. And remember, we keep the conversation going all week long. Facebook.com/Stogie Geeks. You can follow Drew on Instagram and Facebook. He does a phenomenal job every morning of posting different cigars there of what he's having in his cigar garden before he's going to work and planning his day. I think that's super cool. I usually like the ones that I had and liked, and the other ones I kind of let be. I'm going to start to be more interactive on that as well. Drew's email is drew@stogiegeeks.com. My email, joeh@stogiegeeks.com. We want to thank you for listening and watching. Email all your complaints to drew@stogiegeeks.com. Behind every cigar, there's a story worth knowing. I want to encourage you to get out there and shop local. Special thanks to J.C. Newman, Havana Cigar Club, Placencia Cigars, and McAuliffe Cigars. Drew and I are out of here. Over and out. Peace. Cool. Drew, go to work.